Top 7 vitamins to strengthen your legs. Picture waking up each day with legs that feel solid, stable and bursting with energy, no more weakened muscles, and uncomfortable cramping, and a worry-free life concerning falls or balance if you'd like. To remain active, self-reliant, and self-assured. Nutrition is the key. And now we're going to unveil the top 7 minerals and vitamins that will be beneficial maintain your strength and unstoppability. From increasing muscle mass to preserving bone mass and enhancing circulation of these vital minerals can significantly alter how you daily movement and sensation. So, whether you enjoy dancing or taking a stroll in the park, just remaining self-sufficient is there. Before we begin, I would want to show you a video. I would love to know where you plan to join me. From now, leave a remark below and please feel free to ask any queries you may have. Remember to click the subscribe button and activate alerts so you don't miss anything. Missing out on health's top health advice. Let's work together to create a stronger, healthier 365. First, let's discuss our shared future. Vitamin D. Our bodies go through muscle mass decreases due to unavoidable changes. Bones become less dense and move lessens effortless. It might turn into become more challenging. One of the most causes of this decrease is a vitamin D insufficiency is more than merely regarding fragile bones. This vitamin is important, essential function in maintaining strong legs balanced and useful. Let us examine in detail why vitamin D is essential vitamin for legs. Elderly people's strength and how to make sufficient intake can change movement and general health as we age. Our skin's ability to converting sunlight-derived vitamin D into worsen the situation. Many elders spend less time spent outside because of mobility restrictions on lifestyle modifications, or worries about skin damage which leads to a substantial inadequacy that quietly wakens the muscles, leaving legs weak and unsteady. Research have repeatedly demonstrated that modest doses of vitamin D are closely associated with wakening of the muscles and a higher chance of on falls in the elderly. Published in the Clinical Metabolism and Endocrinology discovered that seniors with adequate levels of vitamin D had better, stronger muscular fibers. Coordination and enhanced ability to balance, making them less vulnerable to harm and fractures. On the other hand, those with a deficit that occurred more quickly. Loss of muscle makes even simple tasks difficult, such as ascending stairs or getting out of a chair. Makes vitamin D more difficult. Just about bone or calcium absorption health, but those are undoubtedly this. Vitamin is a powerhouse. Directly affects how muscles work by increasing the production of proteins and enhancing connection between neurons and muscles. Consider it a source of energy. For your without their leg muscles, they find it difficult to perform at your best. According to studies, vitamin D is essential for preserving the fibers of fast-twitch muscles which are essential for prompt responses and equilibrium. These fibers aid in preventing lowering the legs to react causes falls. Quickly when equilibrium is impaired without sufficient vitamin D, these muscles fibers degrade, resulting in slower waker muscle reaction times, contractions, and an increased chance of harm. Moreover, vitamin D has been discovered to lessen muscular tissue inflammation, redundant persistent agony, and pain. Problem a lot of elderly people encounter in their legs. Those who have recurrent stiffness, cramping, or inexplicable leg pain may be shocked to hear that just vitamin D optimization can result in substantial comfort, while disregarding vitamin deficiency is more than just having weak legs. It provides access to a variety of serious, most concerning health issues, fractures and osteoporosis. Without too little calcium and vitamin D can be effectively absorbed, resulting in brittle bones that are extremely vulnerable to breakdowns. A small slip could become a significant fracture that has a significant impact on bones, movement and independent seamed muscles. A lack of vitamin D has been connected to elevated cardiac risk, illness, related cognitive impairment, and diminished head immunity. Elderly people who disregard their consuming vitamin D may not just be difficult, weak legs, but also confront a greater probability of long-term conditions that significantly diminish their standard of living. So good news is that there is a solution that maintaining ideal levels of vitamin D is easy and has the potential to change lives. Here, the advantages are most potent. Strategies to increase vitamin D and maintain your legs robust, and consistent exposure to the sun, merely spending 15 to 30 minutes directly sunshine. Ideally early in the day or late afternoon might offer an organic increase the visibility of your arms and legs, optimizes absorption. However, keep in mind use of sunscreen because it can prevent vitamin D or of food synthesis. While food would not be sufficient on its own to fulfill daily must include salmon, a fatty fish. Dairy egg enhanced with mackerel, sardines, mushrooms and yolks can help with overall consumption of supplements for a large number of elderly people, particularly those who spend brief exposure to vitamin D outside. Most experts agree that supplements are vital. Suggest 800 to 1000 U daily for adult muscular and bone health. Although greater dosages might be required for those with serious shortcomings under medical monitoring. If you're unclear about your straightforward blood test for vitamin D levels, Clarity is already available to many clinicians. Check for vitamin D deficiency on a regular basis. In senior citizens, realizing how important part in avoiding fractures and falls to calcium, in contrast to younger people whose bones remain in a condition of seniors, who are actively redecorating, have a slow reduction of bone mass, which makes them this is more prone to fractures, especially harmful to the hips and leg. Stress, femur fractures, and breaks. Lower limb fractures are among the most severe injuries that elderly persons sustain. Falsely, a small tumble that may have been innocent in youth might lead to months of recuperation or even long-term mobility loss when bones don't have the calcium stores. However, calcium's function is in addition to bone strength. It is an essential particip in each muscle contraction transition from stepping to standing. From HR depends on an intricate interaction of calcium ions with calcium in muscle fibers, serves as a trigger for smooth muscle contraction control motion without giving up calcium. Muscle cramping, weakness, or not produce the force required to keep things stable, which is why many people with insufficient calcium have sluggish, frequent leg cramping, mobility, and general muscle loss endurance. So, how can you make sure your body is going to obtaining adequate calcium while eating dairy items such as cheese and milk? Yogurt continue to be among the most abundant sources. They are not limited to leafy greens, almond, bok choy, and kale sardines. Tofu and plant-based supplements mix are also a great source of calcium. The secret content is variety, which include as many calcium sources into your diet guarantees consistent absorption and improved bone health. But calcium from just food might not always be adequate, particularly for those impaired absorption or dietary limitations. Probables. This is where taking calcium supplements comes in. Can be quite beneficial, especially in conjunction with vitamin D, which increases the absorption of calcium in the body. But having more isn't always preferable. While calcium is necessary, but too much of it, especially from supplements, can result into calcium buildup in kidney, artery stones, and digestive problems affecting thefa. Older people, the proper balance is essential. The suggested daily intake for adults is ideally 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams of calcium derived from a blend of natural foods and, if required, supplements in addition to intake. Another important component in the effectiveness of calcium is movement. Weightlifting activities like walking, resistance training, as well as light running promotes bone growth and assist in directing calcium where it is required, primarily into the muscles and bones. Without even sufficient calcium intake and mobility cannot make the skeletal system completely stronger. Mechanism that disregards calcium consumption doesn't simply weaken bones. It deprives them of the freedom to roam about and participate in pursuits you enjoy, and to keep his self-reliance here. Life of mobility and stability. Because having strong bones is the first step toward confidence. And healthy muscles, both of which depend on calcium. 3. Vitamin 12. While much of the chatlag strength is centered on calcium and protein, few realize that vitamin B12 plays a fundamental role in neuromuscular function, for which it is accountable for maintaining healthy nerves, making sure that the electrical impulses that are moving via the spinal cord and into the legs stay precise and powerful. Without, if you don't provide your muscles The proper indicators of instability and weakness and a gradual loss of authority over movement. It's no wonder that one of the most typical B12 symptoms, sense of being overly exhausted, is a deficit. Legs that frequently have numbness or sensation, but this is the vitamin issue. B12 insufficiency is surprisingly prevalent, unlike other vitamins. Older adults, it can be absorbed or stored as fat through a variety of foods that contain B12. Absorption is heavily reliant on body needs healthy digestion, sufficient stomach acid as well as a unique intrinsic factor, a protein that extract vitamin B12 from food as our stomachs mature. Circumstances and a decrease in acid production such as acid reflux, gastritis, and even antacid usage over time can further hinder absorption in addition to the fact that something a lot of elderly people unintentionally eat diets deficient in foods high in B12, and they result in a gradual but consistent loss of the effects of this vital nutrient of B12 insufficiency go well beyond just feeling weak. Due to untreated B12 deficiency may result in permanent nerve damage, impacting coordination and balance and reflexes of many elderly people who have irregular falls, trouble walking, or feel as though their legs aren't working as they formerly were. In fact, feeling the impact on the nervous system over B12 deficiency. The decrease is frequently thus gradual enough to be written off as typical part of aging, but in practice, it's completely avoidable. Thankfully, in stressing B12 levels can have significant influence on energy levels, and mobility research has indicated that elderly people who rectify their experience of inadequacy observable gains in strength, and leg function. But where does this essential vitamin originate? In contrast to numerous other nutrients, that vitamin B12 derived from plants is found in animals almost exclusively, is one of the top suppliers for items. Fish, poultry, eggs, dairy products, and shellfish, especially liver and clams, which are one of the most abundant resources for individuals who adopt plant-based diets or face challenges with the absorption of meals fortified with B12, like grains. Plant-based milk or vitamin B12 supplements become necessary for the good news. One of the safest vitamins is B12. Vitamins to take as supplements in excess are eliminated in the urine of many elderly people. Advantages of taking more B12 vitamins or getting regular injections, particularly in cases where they have having trouble absorbing it through food alone. Routine blood monitoring tests can assist in guaranteeing ideal levels and stop the slow deterioration of the leg function that frequently goes hand in hand with inadequacy. But this is the main lesson. There's more to having powerful legs than mere physical prowess, but their anxious system effectiveness, response speed, and synchronization. Regardless of how much you, if your nerves aren't working, get some activity appropriately, your legs will not react to fears they ought to, which is why keeping sufficient B12 levels are among the most neglected, but effective methods for maintaining one's mobility and standard of living. For magnesium, every time you get older, magnesium performs a backward role, the background, making sure that your signals are sent to muscles so they can effortlessly contract and relax. It serves as primary modulator of muscular contraction, avoiding spasms, lowering exhaustion, and promoting endurance as one of the great typical but little-known signs of a lack of magnesium causes restless legs syndrome and recurrent leg cramps that many elderly people get, suddenly unpleased contractions of their muscles in their legs, especially at night, interfering sleep and hindering the healing process from routine tasks. This isn't merely a pain, is an indication that the body is having trouble controlling muscular relaxation. When used as directed, magnesium can soothe hyperactive impulses and prevents muscles from suddenly catching on and making it vital for people who have trouble with tense muscles and involuntary contraction. However, the function of magnesium is not limited to muscles. It is also essential for joint health and bone density. While calcium is frequently the focus of bone health, is unable to perform its function, essentially, without magnesium. This mineral aids in controlling the transport of calcium. And guarantees that it is appropriately entered into bones instead of falling into soft tissues, where it might be a factor in joint stiffness, And discomfort studies have found that higher consuming magnesium is associated with increased strength of bones and decreased danger of fractures in elderly people, which makes it an vital element of total mobility. Among the main causes of magnesium, reason insufficiency is so prevalent is readily exhausted by stress-relieving drugs and unhealthy eating patterns. In many elderly adults use drugs that reduce amounts of magnesium, including diuretics inhibitors of the proton pump, and specific blood hypertension medications combined with low-calorie diets meals high in magnesium. The outcome is massive shortage of QL chips away at stamina, strength and flexibility, which is why a lot of seniors suffer from a progressive decline in intransclimbing and walking shorter distances, steps more slowly, and with a tired feeling following easy tasks. It's not just aging is a result of inadequate food intake. To refill performance magnesium concentrations can have a nearly immediate reduction in leg health cramps that increase vitality and replenish the nicest feeling of ease when moving. Following are some dietary sources of magnesium: leafy greens, whole grains, nuts and seeds, legumes such as almonds, pumpkin seeds and avocados, black beans and spinach are especially abundant in magnesium, providing an all-natural method of keeping muscle and bone health. But for individuals who struggle to get enough food through diet, magnesium supplementation by themselves can be an efficient remedy, particularly magnesium glycinate or citrate, which areas here for the body to absorb the change that takes place in CS when levels of magnesium have been recovered. Amazing elders who used to feel burdened and lethargic discover that their legs reeked with renewed vitality to those who had regular cramping in the muscles or alleviation from stiffness, enabling them to improve sleep and increased mobility. Event coordination and balance get better as magnesium aids in controlling the neuromuscular pathways in charge of 5. Potassium ions for consistent motion. Suppose you wake up in the morning, leaving the bed and experiencing unsound of an instant leg muscle spasms that are recognizable to you are among the most typical signs of low potassium levels. As a result of potassium is a crucial modulator of muscular activity, aiding in the internal fluid balance and outside muscle cells when potassium muscles contract when levels are too low. Involuntarily resulting in excruciating cramps, particularly in the legs. And for elderly adults who could have already decreased, these ramps can increase muscle mass or circulation, can be more than a bothersome thing. They can be crippling. Although cramping in the muscles are only the start. Have you ever, after standing, you felt your legs shaking for some time? Or perhaps you've seen heightened rigidity during walking. Potassium is in charge of signal transmission between nerves and muscles that guarantee fluid regulated when levels are low. The motions dialogue between your brain and your leg muscles lose their effectiveness, resulting in weakness or even shaving trouble correctly elevating your feet, something that can greatly raise the possibility of falls. And seniors must acknowledge that preventing falls involves vital in addition to muscles. Potassium also has a surprising part in preserving strong bones, aid in acid neutralization in the body that has the ability to degrade bone density over time. Research indicates that a diet high in potassium can delay the rate of loss of bone, lowers the chance of osteoporosis and leg preservation. Robust in numerous respects. Potassium is not only for muscles. Function. It is important to make sure that both bones and muscles of your legs cooperate harmoniously. Currently, the log inquire as to how you make sure you're obtaining adequate potassium to help sustain your. Thankfully, nature has given us legs, including a lot of tasty potassium burners, which are rich foods. Maybe the first that springs to mind. Yet there's wheat potatoes at the starter ranges, spinach, avocados, and beans are all outstanding potassium sources, including a straightforward baked potato that has been skinned can higher potassium content than a banana. The important thing is to use a range of these ingredients in your regular diet, so that your bones and muscles get regular food. For people who are unable to attain adequate potassium, just by eating supplements may appear to be a simple solution. So, how much potassium is actually necessary? The amount that adults should consume each day is 3,400 milligrams for men and 2,600 milligrams for women. For guys, this sum is usually possible with a diet that is well-balanced, seed-abundant in legumes, fruits, and vegetables, but those who are healthy circumstanced that impact potassium levels like excessive blood pressure or kidney disease hypertension should keep an eye on their intake cautiously and collaborate with a physician to calculate the appropriate dosage of vitamin K. When people consider vitamins to be vital, vitamin D and calcium are essential for healthy bones. Frequently take center stage. But without these minerals, including vitamin K, cannot their duties effectively. Vitamin K is the vital component that guarantees calcium is placed where it belongs in bones, instead of building up in arteries or delicate tissues that may cause rigidity, inadequate blood flow, and even cardiovascular illness, or more specifically, vitamin K functions as traffic controller who is directing calcium to the appropriate locations and maintaining your legs that are flexible and physically sound. For as people age, this becomes progressively more important. Research has revealed that people who consume more vitamin reduce the chance of fractures by having stronger bones and superior general bone health in comparison to people with low levels. As a result of vitamin K makes osteocalcin A active, calcium-binding protein for bones matrix that increases bone density and not easily broken. But vitamin K's role is not limited to that. It's also a vital vitamin for healthy joints, and many people overlook the muscular function. That reality that strong legs need more than merely robust bones and pliable joints for healthy muscles. Vitamin K demonstrated the ability to lower inflammation in joints that have the potential to delay the osteoarthritis development and reduce the usual knee stiffness grievance among senior citizens. When you move or feel stiff, your knees hurt, vitamin K after prolonged sitting may be the nutrient that is lacking and could help you stay mobile and reduce discomfort. Freely balancing the challenge of walking and a higher chance of falling are frequently connected to the emergence of weak leg muscle. Studies indicate that vitamin K is beneficial. Encourage the coordination and strength of your muscles. In older adults in particular, it does this by controlling the amount of calcium in muscle fibers that guarantee appropriate contrast, as well as avoiding the type of erratic motions that may result in Swiss chard, spinach, kale, and instability. Brussels sprouts and collard greens are several of the most abundant sources of vitamin K, the most prevalent ones in plants. But another potent kind of vitamin K2 is present in fermented foods, such as fermented natto-aged cheeses, soybeans, and specific animal atoms such as liver K2 and egg yolks are especially advantageous because it remains longer and more active in the body, and it plays a considerably more significant part in guiding calcium instead of arteries into bones. If you want to increase your vitamin K intake levels organically, the most effective tactic is to eat more green vegetables, eating foods that are fermented. Even adding a daigle added to a smoothie or adding some sautéed spinach on the side into your food might have a significant impact. But for those who have inability to absorb vitamin K from meals, particularly those who have digestive illnesses or using antibiotics for a long time, supplementing could be a possibility. However, if you are on blood, you must use caution. Reducing the effectiveness of drugs like Warren vital to speak with a healthcare professional profans before to raising your consumption of vitamin K as it relates to blood coagulation and can work in tandem with these. Drugs contain 7 vitamins B6. B6 vitamin, sometimes referred to as pyridoxine, plays a far larger part in muscular and leg strength function that most individuals are unaware of. While a variety of nutrients support mobility, B6 is necessary to keep nerves healthy. Health that promotes muscle regeneration and making certain that the body efficiently uses protein to create and preserve muscular mass. Without it, even the strongest muscles can deteriorate over time. Even basic motions include getting up, going upwards, or from a chair can feel overwhelming one's energy level. One of the most neglected features of vitamin B6 is linked to nerves, coordination, and signaling. When B6 low levels, these impulses may turn into slow or misguided, resulting in tingling sensations, numbness, and even unstable gait. In many elderly, these symptoms are mistaken for aging by adults. Associated loss of muscle, while in fact their bodies just don't have the appropriate nutrition to sustain optimal another essential neuromuscular function. Vitamin B6's function is its part in avoiding muscular inflammation. B6 helps control inflammation and fatigue, bodily reactions that decrease muscular pain, and maintaining the legs more resilient and adaptable if you've been feeling stiff all the time. Or delayed recuperation following an activity, boosting your consumption of vitamin B6, possibly a game changer that goes beyond muscle. Vitamin B6 is also essential for these cells produce red blood cells, distribute oxygen throughout the body, supplying energy to muscles and making sure they have its stamina required for prolonged activities. A B6 deficit may result in reduced hemoglobin levels, indicating that your muscles might not get enough oxygen, need to induce early weariness and heaviness and diminished endurance. If you've ever experienced suddenly exhausted after taking a quick stroll or minimal physical effort, it can be your body's method of communicating that it needs more. Where does the vital vitamin B6 originate from? Fortunately, B6 is plentiful in assortment of mouth-watering and easily available foods like salmon, fowl, and fish. Tuna, potatoes, bananas, chickpeas, and cereals with added nutrients are a great source of including these foods in your everyday diet. Your B6 can be naturally restored by meals levels that sustain the operation of both nervous and muscular power. For people with poor nutrition and stomach problems, B6 absorption or dietary limitations, supplements might be required to obtain the ideal levels. The suggested related differences in vitamin B6 daily consumption regarding gender with senior citizens, generally requiring approximately 1.5 milligrams daily for females and 1.7 milligrams daily for males. During B6 is generally safe to get from food. Excessive consumption as a result of high-dose supplements ought to be used in conjunction with exercise. Caution, because prolonged abuse can result in the best course of action for nerve injury is to concentrate on eating a healthy, B6-rich diet. Sources that guarantee a consistent supply without needless dangers. If you discovered this useful video, don't forget to press the like button. Truly aids in bringing you a comment. For more insightful content, below and share your opinions with us. Queries or a subject you would want us to cover next, we would love to hear from you about course. Click subscribe and then set alerts to ensure you never miss out our most recent health advice and insights. Remain knowledgeable, maintain your health, and see you in the upcoming video.